Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'd just like to draw attention to my registers on the entry on the register of members' interests, and also just to highlight, I think, as other members have said, the tribute from my constituents following the death of His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. I know the thoughts of so many have been with Her Majesty the Queen over the last few days. I'd speak today in huge support of the Finance Bill. I think it's absolutely fundamental in the steps that we're taking for constituencies like mine, both in the short term and in the long term. And I'd particularly like to associate myself with the comments of the member for Hertford and Stortford earlier, who made a really fundamental point, which is that we politicians in Westminster do not create the wealth. That's down to the businesses, entrepreneurs, workers in North West Durham and across the country. But we can help set the pitch and enable them to succeed. I think the government's work recently, particularly in terms of continuing the business rate holiday and the VAT holiday, have been particularly helpful and will really help some of my businesses rebound. But the broader point is that this budget actually sets some really good things out for the long term, particularly around productivity, as highlighted by the member for Hitchin and Harpenden, around how the technology adaptation needs to happen for those productivity gains in businesses, and also with the Help to Grow scheme. I think the super deductor also gives a real opportunity, particularly for the manufacturing centre, which is so capital intensive, in order to really invest for the long term, and knowing that that cash is going to be repaid in spades, and also that they get a tax break for it, which would also help to counter some of the issues that we're bound to see around unemployment because of the COVID pandemic. More broadly, though, the levelling up we're now seeing to start take shape. And we've seen the lifelong learning provided for, the finance for it provided in this bill, hugely important for constituencies like mine, where far higher than average numbers of people don't have those level 3 skills that we know make the real difference for people's earning capacity. Last year we saw the great motorhomes tax cut from the Chancellor in the budget, and that's had a real direct impact on my constituents this year in a manufacturing centre. And in terms of levelling up fund, it's been great to see the 4.6 billion announced. And the Treasury just do need to be aware that are we putting in bids for both Concert and for the three-town area of Crook, Willington and Tower Law. I've already had conversations with some of the council candidates and indeed the local council about that. So I'm really hoping that we can get some of that cash into our areas to help really boost them. Areas, the towns which felt for too long left behind. I did feel that a couple of the comments by the opposition on higher council tax being forced onto councils did beg a belief to a degree, especially when in Durham we're seeing our Labour-controlled council, Labour run for 102 years, spending £50 million on a new county hall on a floodplain with a roof terrace, at the same time as raising council tax, currently the 8th highest in the country out of 340 councils. And one other thing I'd particularly like to pick up on, as mentioned by my honourable friend, the member for Redcar, the really great news about the Freeport. I think it just goes to show what great local MPs working with the superb Mayor of Teesside, Ben Houchin, can do. And that's exactly what I need to see in County Durham as well. Great entrepreneurial, business-focused local government working with local MPs. And I was somewhat alarmed by the comments of the opposition front bench, who decided to suggest that these free ports would be places for smuggling and organised crime to thrive. He made it sound a little bit like Pirates of the Caribbean is coming to Teesside, when the truth is actually quite different. We've already seen thousands of jobs being created locally, and huge amounts of government jobs as well from both the Treasury and the Department of Trade moving to the North East, which is incredibly welcome, not just for Teesside and the constituents there, but the entire North East region. So I think there's a lot to commend in this budget, but the financial responsibility and the need for fiscal responsibility have not gone away. It really matters in the long term, as the honourable member, the chair of the Select Committee, said at the start, we have to ensure that financial responsibility is kept there, because any rise in interest rates is going to see serious issues for the economy and also for government spending in the long term. So I think this is a really balanced approach. It's got some of those short-term measures in there to restart the economy. It's got some of those long-term measures that my constituents voted for at the general election. And crucially, it's a proper Conservative budget because at the heart of it is long-term fiscal responsibility. Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker.